so good to see you today. Hey everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Mykaela's Corner. It's so good to have you here today. Welcome, happy Sunday. Hope you guys are doing well. If you're watching later, hopefully you're having a great day. I am so excited to jump into this episode today. We have a fun day planned for us. We have a cool craft. We have an awesome lesson, and we have some cool books to read. Today we're going to be covering the idea of following Jesus and what that looks like in regards to the things we have. The world kind of makes it seem like the more you have, the happier you'll be, but that is not the case. And I'm going to tell you why when we get to our lesson today. Another way of following Jesus and how we can use our things that we have is to do things for other people. So our books today are centered around what it looks like to be a good neighbor, what it looks like to be a good person, which I think we all can take something from, because right now the world is still kind of in a tough place and people are feeling excluded, people are feeling hurt, people are scared and anxious, and I'm here to say that you can make a difference. You can use your talents, your things, the things that God has given you to bless the world. So that's something we're going to talk about today as well. And with that, let's get started. Welcome to Bible time. Today we're going to be learning about following Jesus and what that looks like in regards to all the things we have and all the things we want, all the things we need. As people and in the world, we're kind of taught that the more you have, the happier you'll be. The more money you make, the happier you'll be. The more things you have, the bigger, the better. Makes your life awesome. And that may be true a little bit, but true happiness does not come from your things. True happiness comes from following Jesus and doing what he wants us to do. In our story today, Jesus is talking to thousands of people. They've gathered around. We've seen that in the previous stuff. We're still talking about Jesus and his teachings. So today he's teaching us about our possessions. So he's gathered around with all these people and they're listening to him talk. And one guy came forward and he said, "Jesus, tell my brother to give me half of my inheritance." Now, for those of you who don't know, inheritance is something that, like when your parents die, it's like money that they leave behind. So back then, this guy, he was like, "My brother took all of it and I want half of it. Tell him to give me half." And Jesus said, "Watch out and be on guard against all greed. True life is not found in the things that you own." Then Jesus told the people a parable. Now, a parable is a story that has a teaching element to it. So when you hear a parable, it's what Jesus used. It's the stories he used to make a bigger point. So here we go. He says, a rich man owned land that produced many crops. Maybe it was wheat, maybe it was corn. Either way, lots of crops, lots of things that he planted. And he didn't have anywhere to store all of his crops. So he said to himself, I have all these crops. I'm going to take my barn that I have now, tear it down, get rid of it, no more. And I'm going to build a bigger barn to store all my crops. And this rich man said, once I have that, then I'll be happy and I'll be done working and I can relax. But God said, "You fool! You have all this stuff on earth, but when you die, you can't take these things to heaven. When you get up to heaven, you're going to have no treasure stored in heaven." And so Jesus said, this is a warning to people who don't store up treasures in heaven and aren't generous, because God wants us to be generous with others. Our things that we store up in heaven are not like actual money things that we have on earth. The treasures in heaven are all the good deeds that we do on earth. So when we do something good, that's a treasure that's going towards heaven, not all the things that we own. Then Jesus told his disciples, do not worry about life and or about your body. For example, think about the birds. Think about the birds. We've got lots of birds outside here, especially in the PNW, Pacific Northwest. We have lots of birds. And he said, think about them. They don't plant food. They don't collect grain, but God still takes care of them. He still gives them worms to eat every day. He still gives them food, seeds, plants, whatever it is that that bird eats, God provides for them, even though they don't work for it. And Jesus said, also think about the flowers and think about the grass. They don't wear clothes and they don't, have to do anything but just grow. And God provides everything that they need. He provides the sun, the rain, the dirt, the everything. And even though they may look like beautiful, they didn't do any work. Whereas you look at a king, he's got all this stuff and they look just as pretty as that, but they didn't have to do all the hard work for that. And he said, Jesus told his disciples, do not worry about food or drink because God loves you more than the flowers. He loves you more than the birds. He loves us more than all of these things. And if he loves us more and he takes care of the birds and the flowers, he's definitely going to take care of us. So Jesus is saying, don't worry about that. Seek God's kingdom. That's the most important. Follow Jesus and seek God's kingdom, and God will provide whatever you need. God is happy to give his children the kingdom. So for us, the important thing to remember today is that we need to seek God's kingdom. We need to follow Jesus, and in doing so, God is going to provide everything we need to get there. He's going to provide us our food, our clothing. It doesn't mean that we'll get everything we want, but God will provide everything we need. And sometimes there may be things that we think we need, but God knows what's best for us. And God knows what we need to do and everything that we need to survive. And sometimes he blesses us with wonderful, nice things too. And that's not a bad thing. He's not saying don't have nice things. That's not what Jesus is saying. He's just saying that's not the most important thing. We need to think bigger picture. It's nice to have these things. Some of us have more things than other people, and some of us have less things than other people. But God will provide everything that we need. And for those of us who are blessed with more things, that just means we can use them for God's kingdom. We can share with others. We can give generously. We don't need to hoard it all. We can use it to bless people around us and to show God's love. So that's our lesson today, is to remember to follow Jesus. And in doing so, we don't need to worry because he's going to take care of everything we need. And he's going to bless us with what we need and what we have. And then we can use that to bless others in return. And with that, I have kind of a cool craft today that is about following Jesus. And it's a craft, but then it's kind of like an activity. I haven't done it before, so I'm really excited to do it with you guys. Classic, having a craft that I've never done before. But let's do it together and we'll figure it out. All right, on to craft. Welcome to craft time. Today we're going to be making a craft that is about following Jesus. And what you're going to need is a pair of scissors, some tape. I have here a roll of duct tape, but you just need something that is a roll like this. You can use duct tape. You could try using a toilet paper roll. I'm not sure if it would work, but you could try it. Masking tape, something like that. You need something like that. You need 2 straws that are plastic. For me, I know they're not like kosher anymore. We're not supposed to be using plastic straws, but if you're like me, you might have some in the back of your cupboard that you haven't used in a long time. So what better to use them for than a craft? So we got 2 straws, and then you need 2 sticks, something that will fit inside the straw like this. And I'll show you why in a minute. But for me, I'm going to use the watercolor paintbrushes. They suggested what I looked up, they suggested like a skewer, like a wood skewer that you would use in the kitchen for cooking. I just don't have any of those. So I'm making do with what I've got at home, like we all are during COVID. So you're gonna need 2 sorts of sticks. For me, I've got my paintbrushes that go inside the straw. And then something to color with. Oh, and paper, which I forgot. Hang on. I've got it right here. Paper. Okay, so what we're gonna do first is we are going to create some feet. So when you think about following Jesus, how do you move your body? How do you follow? You have to walk, 1 foot in front of the other. So we're gonna cut out feet here. Now, I would suggest that you trace your own feet, but that would be really hard for me to kind of put my foot up on the table. So I'm just gonna draw feet instead. So I'm gonna make them kind of big like it would be my foot. So I'm gonna draw some feet on my paper. And basically how you're gonna do that is, if you start at the top and you kind of curve it in, it's kind of like a giant bean. See that there? This is my foot. Or it's gonna be my foot for this project. And then the easiest thing I can do here, I'm gonna fold my paper in half. I could have started by doing this first, but now when I cut it out, I'll have 2 feet. Here we go. Now you cut them out. So I'm gonna cut along my line here and cut out my 2 feet. Now this idea of following Jesus, this is how we want to live our lives. So this is going to be a good object lesson, a good example, a good craft to remind us to do that. You don't need to be exact with the feet shape. Everybody's feet are different. But now, I have 2 feet. It works perfect. So what we're going to do is on your feet, you're going to write following Jesus. Now if you have a hard time with this at home, you can watch how I write it. I'll hold it up when I'm done. I think that'll be hard for you to see if I'm writing like this. But if you need help, just ask your moms and dads. They'll be able to help you. But I'm going to do blue and green. So I'm going to start with the green for the word following. So I'm going to write following. And then give it a little bit of decoration. Maybe like a star. Ta-da! Following. 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 Next, we're following Jesus. So you're gonna write Jesus on your other foot. Jesus. 1, 2, 3. Give a little decorations. You guys can do this however you want. You can use markers like I'm doing. You can use crayons. You can use colored pencils. You can paint them. That'd be pretty cool. You could use all sorts of colors too. But now I have my Jesus. So then when they're by each other, we've got following Jesus. Okay, now we can set those to the side for now. Next, what you're gonna need is your duct tape roll or masking tape roll or whatever it is that you have that's kind of like a tube that can roll on the ground like this. Because basically what we want it to do is roll. Okay, so now I'm gonna take my sticks that I'm using paintbrushes for, and I'm going to tape it inside. So I'm gonna get a little close here for you. Get up on my knees. I'm gonna take a piece of tape, and then I'm gonna stick it in on the bottom like this, because I want this part to stick out and this part to go in, like that. And then I'm just gonna tape it on top to keep it in place. So I just put my piece of tape over the top, and now this is taped on. And then we're gonna roll it, and tape our other stick, this way. So, this way. So it goes the opposite way. So one's on the top and one is on the bottom on the inside, but we want them facing out. So then I'm gonna take another piece of tape, and I'm gonna go in here and tape it on top like that. So now I have tape, and I have my duct tape roll that has a stick here, and they're kind of up and down. Now that I'm looking at it, it's a little bit lopsided. So I'll get it a little bit of extra tape to make sure that it sticks on nice and tight. We don't want this rolling away or falling out. Ta-da! See how I have one stick on the bottom and one stick on the top. Now we're gonna do our straws. And our straws are gonna go on our feet. So I'm gonna set this to the side for a second. Don't roll off. Take your feet and you're gonna flip them over so that they're on the back side like this. And then take your straws and your pair of scissors, and you're gonna cut them just a little bit longer than halfway, like this. See that? And now we have this piece. And I'm gonna do the same for the other one. So I'm gonna match it up, line it up, cut that piece off, and here we go. Now we have 2 straws. And you're gonna take them, and kind of where the top of the foot is, you're gonna tape it inside like this. I'm gonna take my piece of tape, I'll hold my thing here while I grab my tape, take my tape, stick it on like that, so now the straw is on the foot, so it goes to about the middle of the top part of your foot, and then this part sticks off. And you're gonna do this for both feet. So I'm gonna take this other foot, take my piece of tape, hold my straw till about the middle of the foot there, and then tape it on. So now I've got my feet like this. And now the fun part, hopefully this works, is you're going to take your stick here, and then you're gonna put your foot straw through the stick. So we have one there, and one here. So now for you guys, it'll look like this. So we have following Jesus, and then let's see what happens when we put it down. All right, I'm gonna put it close to you so that it'll roll towards me. So then you kind of just roll the tape, and it should work. Okay, that's super cool. It totally worked. Okay, let's see if I can roll it towards you to see if you can get the idea here. I'll roll it outside on my driveway too to see if we can get it to go down the hill. Gotta give it more of a push. Ah, that's so cool. I don't you guys can tell, but it's like moving the feet. It's like it's walking. We're totally doing it, you guys. It's like we're following Jesus and we're pushing it towards. And now we're gonna test to see if it works. I've got my driveway here. I think it's downhill. Following Jesus. Here we go. Ah! Yay! Oh. Well, there you go, boys and girls. At home, you can try this. You can show your family. And maybe you guys could do multiple ones if you have siblings, or you can do it with your parent and you can race them to see who's can go the furthest if you have multiple rolls. I bet a toilet paper roll would work just fine. It's just a little easier with this because it's bigger, so it has more room to like roll on the ground. But there you go. I know it's a little hard to see in here, but I'll record it outside rolling. So cool. And there you guys go. Remember to follow Jesus with everything you do, whether that be being nice to people outside, whether that be sharing things that you have, whether that be just in general, reading your Bible, praying every day, and asking God to tell you what it is that He has for you to do that day. Just remember to follow Jesus, just like these feet are doing. Wherever we point them towards Jesus, God is going to provide all our needs. All right, well, with that, let's read some stories. I'm Not Just a Scribble, written and illustrated by Diane Alber. This is a story about Scribble, whose lines would cross and wiggle. Tiny loops would start him small, bigger swirls would make him tall. He could be shades of green and baby blue, even crazy colors. He loved them too. Choosing bright colors made him feel free. You never knew which one he would be. Then one day Scribble took a short walk, where he found a house and stopped to talk. "Hello," said Scribble. "I'm such a great day. I thought I'd come over and we could all play." The house never saw anything like Scribble before, but he was curious enough to find out a bit more. So even though he was grumpy and didn't want to play, he still managed to grunt. "What are you anyway?" Scribble was confused and didn't know what to say, so he said to the house, "I'm just Scribble. Is that okay?" "It's not okay," said the house. "You don't look right. Your lines aren't straight and your colors are too bright." "But color is fun," Scribble said. "I can show you why. Just give me a chance. Please let me try." "No," said the house. "You cannot stay. You're nothing like me. Now go away." Hearing those words made Scribble so sad. A tear ran down his face, and he felt really bad. "But I won't be upset," he proclaimed that day. So he changed his color and he went on his way. He continued his walk and soon found the sun. Along with the clouds, they could all have some fun. But the sun saw him coming and told him to stop. "Your lines are too messy and we don't have a mop. Turn around, little Scribble," he went on to say. "Go back to your home. Please just go away." "But you're not being nice," Scribble shouted, quite mad. "The fact that I'm different doesn't make me so bad. My colors are special and my lines are just fine. If you give me a chance, we could have a great time." "Should we ask him to play?" they huddled to discuss. "It's fun with more friends. It's usually just us." And although they were worried that this wouldn't work out, being mean to Scribble wasn't what they were about. Scribble was surprised at what he saw the next day. All the drawings were there and they wanted to play. Even Rainbow showed up and he never came by. He was standing right there near the sun in the sky. "We're so sorry," said the clouds as they held back their tears. "Please come play." Said the house, "We haven't had fun in years." "I forgive you," Scribble shouted as he did a happy dance. They were so grateful he gave them another chance. Scribble gathered up his colors and played with everyone. Blue, purple, green, and yellow. It was all so much fun. Look what they created when they finally came together. The art was so beautiful, and it was better than ever. The end. Maybe I Can Love My Neighbor Too. Written by Jennifer Grant and illustrated by Benjamin Schipper. I live at the corner of 9th and 19th, upstairs in apartment 4A. A building is going up across the street. Week after week it grows taller and taller, climbing up high in the sky. Mama, will all the new people be our neighbors too? I asked one day. Every single person in our neighborhood, she says, whether they live next door or across the street or far, far away. I know I'm supposed to love my neighbors, but how can I love that many people? I ask. Mama gives me a hug. Oh, honey, she says, I'm sure you'll find a way. Maybe start by noticing the way others show love. A man walks by the construction site, pushing a shopping cart that's stuffed with blankets and bags. The wheel hits a bump in the road and the cart almost tips over. But one of the workers moves fast to catch it and sets it upright again. Helping someone who's just passing by is a way to show love. Maybe I can love my neighbor too. Mama and I walk down to the park just like we do every day. I see a man and a woman up ahead, talking to people while they wait at the light. I stare at the pictures on the man's arms while he tells Mama about people who had to leave their homes because they weren't safe anymore. Mama hands him a few dollars to the woman who has a purple stripe in her hair. Giving money so people can have a safe place to live is a way to show love. Maybe I can love my neighbor too. At the park, an old man is shouting his dog's name. Shadow! Shadow! He calls. A boy runs after the dog, diving to catch him, and a minute later, Shadow is back with his owner. The old man says, "Thank you," over and over and over. Helping older folks is a way to show love. Maybe I can love my neighbor too. Mama, look at me, I shout, and she waves from the bench under her favorite tree. When I'm all out of breath, I sit on the edge of the sandbox, watching the other kids play. A girl tosses me a shovel and pail. Then we build the most elegant castle and dig a moat around it. We decorate it with royal flags made of sticks and seeds and leaves. That was kind of that girl, Mama says when we're walking back home. I like seeing how she loved her neighbor, and the neighbor this time was you. Sharing toys with a new friend is a way to show love. Maybe I can love my neighbor too. There's sand between my toes and Mama says it's time for the tub. But then we hear a knock at the door and it's our neighbors from upstairs and they baked us a loaf of bread. Sharing good things to eat is a way to show love. Maybe I can love my neighbor too. At dinner I tell Daddy, guess what? I learned something new today. That's what I like to hear, he says. What is it? Every person in the whole world is my neighbor, I say, and I can love them too. I could give my birthday money to somebody who needs it more than me, I say. Or I can carry groceries or open doors for people who aren't as strong as I am. I pull up my sleeves and I show my muscles. There are a lot of ways, I say. I can be kind to other kids in the park or even bake something to share with people in our building. I knew you'd find ways to show love to others, Mama says with a smile. Every other person in the whole wide world is my neighbor, whether they live next door or across the street or far, far away. And I know I can love my neighbors too. The end. Thank you so much for joining me today. It was so good to have you. For those of you at Lakeside, I love you. I miss you. Can't wait to see you in person. And for those of you who are joining us today who don't go to our church, it's so good to see you, and thank you so much for joining us today. Guys, we did it. Another episode down. Can you believe that we've done 15 episodes now? Woo! Crazy. I feel like the time has flown by. And at the same time, I still feel like this is my first episode. Well, thanks so much for joining me today. I hope you guys have a fantastic day, a great rest of your week, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.